As predominantly Angular uses classes in the ways of models, components, services, and a lot. Do you know the ways we could use classes in our application? Let us see. Hi all, I'm Lakshman. As a part of our Angular best practice series, today we are going to see some workarounds of classes in our Angular application. The steps we are going to see is number one, it's prerequisites, and number two, we will be seeing some workarounds of classes in Angular. So, without wasting any time, let's get started. Let us see our prerequisites. As number one, by default, it's Node.js, either your LT session or current version. And number two, it's our Angular CLI. For installation, kindly install via npm install-g at Angular CLI. If you are new, if you already have it, it's okay. And to create your first Angular project, kindly type ng new space your application's name. So then the third one is for the ID, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, the one of the most popular IDE. So these are our prerequisites. So let's move on to our next step. Let us see our class workarounds in our Angular app. Workaround number one. Always use class for creating entity instead of interface. The reason is when you create an entity for using interface, you need to initialize all the properties manually. If you use class, it initializes all the properties predefined when you create the instance of a class, which is an object. Workaround number two. With the use of classes, we could implement the mapping concept for our classes. Like when we retrieve some information via REST API, we could map the REST API's property to the class property. So those data will get mapped automatically via our mapper class. We can't implement this technique in our interface. So class is a best workaround for this. Let us see how we could do this in a small demo. This is our logger service where first we have declared as an interface. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create our class for it. Class logger implements I logger. This let me code this to the lowercase and let us click here quick and constructor. So it defines this is the class. Now what we are going to do is we are going to change this into the loggers function. So the application is already running here, so we could easily check all our data is been displaying here. And let us go to the logger component where we are doing our mapping, which is from the API. I am getting the value as underscore ID, but here it is the logger ID where I need to replace this. What I'm actually gonna do is here I'm getting all the values which is from here. What we could do here is I only add a small snippet that we could use. I'm gonna copy it and I'm gonna paste it here, which is logger and item is E, and I have written a model mapper which is a part of my core components. So this is the model mapper which we written in a class. It uses any key mechanism. Whatever the class comes in, it resource checks for the value and it directly mapping to this option. And this is the property mapping component where we could use for property mapping from the source to destination. So let us import this manually from slash core slash mapper here, mapper model, and this is the logger, which is a class that the logger class is that, and I'm going to change everything to logger instead of ilogs. So what is actually happening is if you're gonna comment this one out and return this item here. Now if you can see there won't be no IDs here. There was no log IDs, which is the one mapping is missing. So what we are going to do is here in the logging services there was an option called property map. I have a snippet here. We copy it and paste it here. The property map, the property I'm going to map is underscore ID for this component. So if I map this, let us see. Are we mapping it correctly? So here is the logger information which is coming in from that. This is the logger ID, which is underscore ID, and then let's come to the logger component. Let's add a breakpoint here. So it comes here, you can see there was some E option which is underscore ID. Model mapper and property map. And it checks for some any target which has the property map constructor. You can see there was a logger ID and the ID is got mapped here. This is mapping ID. When the source comes in, If this dot target is empty, let us check for a minute. So for the issue is we not initialize it here. Let us initialize these options. This dot logid is equal to null. Then where it finds for the targeted information, so that we need to log this. Okay, I think this will be sufficient. Where we got some error here. So what the mistake we have done is we have not declared this property here. Whenever the class has been created, we need to initialize these properties here. So this dot, if you want to change the values which is for the mapping, you need to have it in a constructor. So what happens here is it checks insect. In a model mapper, we are creating an object of the target and checks the object has some values so that we could map on predefined. As previously, we not added a initialize the logger ID in the constructor, so it doesn't had a targeted option. But at present, we have it, and it actually fetches the data, and the mapping is done, and it displays the data here. So that wraps this demo. I hope we have seen some of the good workarounds where we could implement on a daily basis on working with class in Angular. I hope this will be very useful for you, and if the video is so useful, kindly give a thumbs up for this video and share with your friends who is working in Angular. And kindly subscribe to the channel so we will be posting each and every week a new video. Until then, I am Lakshman. Peace out.